Welcome to the Homebuyer Seminar. I'm Bill Gross, your host at Bill Gross Probate, along with my co-host Patricia Castillo.
Hello, everybody.
We get together every week and talk about either your first home or your next home, and how you can buy it and make money on it and do it profitably and properly and efficiently, and with fun. And here we are, March, spring heating up. What's happening in the market, Patricia? What do you see?
Right. Well, I see definitely a lot of buyer demand, but also some little bit of hesitating there.
Mhm.
I have clients asking about down payment assistance programs and how they can get some kind of assistance for closing costs. And one of the things that I just wanted to mention today on our call is also the speed in real estate, right? If you see a property that you like, if you're interested in a first time home buyer program, um, the most important thing is once you have all the information is to act on it, right? Without the
Mhm.
application, you're not going to actually move closer to buying a home or even to find out what you need to do to buy a home. And I'm seeing a little bit of analysis paralysis where buyers are really analyzing everything, but they're not actually doing anything. They're getting the information and pondering on it and, still thinking about it. Um, and one of those examples is a property that I showed last week to a client that was really interested, and the price was 629,000. And so we're talking about writing an offer, and this is a part where I was explaining to them about the speed. If you see a property you like, you have to write an offer and submit it. This way, your name is thrown in the ring, and you'll have an opportunity to receive a counter offer if your offer is substantial, if it's good. And in the meantime, they're pondering the idea and thinking about it. And the listing agent ended up changing the price. It increased now 20,000. So now the property is 649,000.
How about that?
So those are things that you cannot foresee happening, right? So if you see a home that you like
Right.
or you're thinking of getting pre-qualified, just start acting on it because the market can change. Buyer demand is definitely there, and there are some buyers that are taking action and getting the information and then taking the next step, right? So once you receive the information, you want to take the next step and apply for the loan or start looking into the home buyer grants. There's a lot of them out there right now. And one of the home buyer grants that I really like is from City National Bank. They offer a $20,000 grant, and that you can use towards your closing costs and down payment. And it's a conventional loan without PMI. So I've shared this program with other buyers, and um, they're not really acting on it yet. And sometimes these programs go away, right? Here today, gone tomorrow. So if you hear about something, you want to know more information about it, definitely reach out and we'll get you all the information you need. But the next step would be to actually take action.
Here's something, say something.
That's right.
Well, not
Because
really.
just like that home that I showed my client that was $20,000 less last week.
Mhm.
Today it's $20,000 more.
Mhm.
So that could be the difference of somebody not qualifying for a home anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, rates change every day, inventory changes every day, pricing can change every day. I think the key thing for customers has to be, when the property is right to buy, you got to get into action. There's no solution that will solve the problem.
Mhm.
If you have a problem, if you don't have a problem, you don't need to buy a house. You don't need to buy a house. But if you need to buy one, speed kills in every industry. The faster you are, the more successful you're going to be, and oftentimes that requires preparation, right? That's part of the play here. So.
That's right. So that's one of the important things that I wanted to mention today was definitely about the speed and taking action, not staying in the paralysis mode where you're actually just not moving forward. Um, so some of the things that I've been talking to clients about is homebuyer grants, how to get started, how to apply, and without applying, you're not going to know what you qualify for or how much of a grant you can receive, because actually with this grant they were offering up to 50,000, but you weren't going to know what you were going to get, whether you were going to be eligible for the 20 or the 50,000, right? Unless you applied.
Right.
And in doing some of these other programs, there is a home buyer educational course, which is very helpful because it's a mandatory course if you're getting, let's say, a home buyer down payment assistance, like from CalHFA. You do have to take a home buying educational course, but they teach you about finances and getting ready for that payment so you won't have a payment shock every month, and learning to manage finances and expectations, right? Because you might have that same expectation where you can go out and just kind of be a little bit more free flowing with your cash. But now that you have a mortgage payment, you have to know how to budget yourself. And so these are all things that they go over during that home buyer course. So that is something to keep in mind if you are looking to get a home buyer grant. There is a course that's involved, but I think it's definitely something that's helpful for home buyers, first time home buyers too.
Well, again, more information, more preparation, more knowledge, makes you a stronger buyer. True in any endeavor, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are in Southern California. What's the what phase of the market are we in? I think we're entering the spring season.
We're
Uh, you know,
starting. Yeah. Spring season.
we're
Hmm.
almost there, right? We're looking at it. We can see it. Families are still have kids in school, but they're going to get ready to get out here in 2 months or so, 2 or 3 months, and people are going to start planning vacations. But also going to look if they're going to move. This is the time that a lot of people want to do it. So, this is a time where you could. It's like anything else. You can show up. When I drive from LA to East, say the other day I went to what would you call it? East LA? Not East LA though. Really more like
Boyle Heights.
Silver Lake, Boyle Heights. When I went to Boyle Heights, I purposely set it up to get out of here by 1 o'clock. You can go at 5 o'clock. It's going to take you a lot longer to get there. You're in line behind all the people that are ahead of you. Same with home buying. You can wait until May or June, but if you're going to buy a house anyhow, get your paperwork done now. Get towards the front of the line, and you can get in before those buyers are stepping up.
Yeah. I'm definitely seeing more buyers that are kind of coming out of, waiting and being on the sidelines.
Hmm.
But it's really going to come down to the buyers that are ready and that are taking action. So, everybody seems to be watching the interest rates, seeing if something's going to change there, something drastically.
Right.
Um, I don't really see a huge change in the interest rates right now
Hmm.
because the demand is still so high. And even though we have more inventory on the market,
Hmm.
we still have it. I think the buyer demand outweighs what we have available on the market. And there's also different price points, right? So you have your first time buyers that are looking between maybe like 5 and 650,000. And those homes are selling much faster. So even here in my market in Downey, I mean, you can get, a 3 bedroom, 1 or 2 bath starter home for like 850. And it's not going to be anything that's, let's say, completely modern and turnkey, but it's livable.
Hmm.
You can start doing your upgrading as you plan and budget to do so. But homes are still selling at or above asking. So it really depends on the neighborhood you're looking in. But
Right.
if you're looking in like Riverside, San Bernardino, there's a lot of competition out there.
Right.
There's definitely a lot of buyers that are packing the open houses and getting out there and looking at homes.
Particularly affordable prices. And I think what's happening is there's, I think the economy is certainly not in a negative environment. And I think if anything seems to be picking up in some of the um, manufacturing and logistics areas. There are areas that are hurting quite a bit, obviously. Entertainment, filmmaking is way off in Los Angeles. And that's why LA and West LA, is still a challenging market. But you get to the outlying areas where there's more manufacturing and more distribution, those businesses are still growing. And there are people there who want to buy a house and can afford to buy a house.
That's right. And I'm also coming across buyers that are rethinking their commute because maybe they still can't afford a home in Los Angeles County. So they're looking in the IE. They're looking in Moreno Valley or other, Rialto, Fontana, where they're going to have a commute, but they're going to have a home to live in as well.
Yeah.
So if you need to move and you need to buy a home, right now, the way the rental market has increased so much with all the fires and people looking to rent and get into other living, accommodations, it's very challenging. Definitely.
Can be, and I think that's it's the yin and yang, the rentals versus the house, buying a house versus rentals, and so you have a lot of people who like to rebuild. I heard a statistic that the city of LA so far has approved 4 permits for rebuilding houses to date. I heard another statistic, another piece of information in Baltimore. You remember the story about this important bridge that got knocked down? A ship pilot made a mistake and banged into the important bridge in Baltimore, knocked it down a year ago. So here's a year later. Not only are they not rebuilding the bridge, they haven't even started. They have no plans even filed. And so I think one of the things is that you're going to find that it's going to take a lot longer to rebuild. And so what that does is put pressure on these outlying areas. And we're seeing in the South Bay, we're seeing in Orange County, we're seeing people looking east who previously wouldn't have considered it, but going to have to because they want to own a house.
Right.
And here in West LA, I don't think they're rebuilding 13,000 houses this year. I don't see it happening. So
Yeah.
I wish, but and I feel bad for people who have problems. So
Yeah.
okay, well, I think that's a wrap for today. We missed Shannon this week, but he'll be back next week. Patricia, if somebody's interested in seeing if they qualify for a house or getting a game plan together, what's the best way to get hold of you?
Sure. So it's my cell number 323-365-9909.
Fantastic. And as always, I'm Matt Bogros Probate. We do this every week. We broadcast on Fridays. If you have comments, put comments there, reply, ask questions. If you have a topic you'd like to ask us about, we'd love to have you do that. We're really growing in viewership. Appreciate your support. Thank you so much, everybody. As always, make today your best day ever. Thanks.